Scholars, welcome back to the Counselor's Office. I'm Mr. Gaming Counselor. We are live at the Counselor's Office, and we have chat with us who's going to be helping us as we're going to be watching and reacting. We're watching a channel called Going Indie. I've never watched their video, their stuff before, but the video has caught my attention. That is going around Bungie. They all left. Where did Bungie go? Where did Bungie go? And a lot of people, when they think about Bungie, they are the current Bungie, they think, oh man, the creators of Halo. But the reality is they're not. Now, I don't know where they all went, so this video is probably going to help me understand more. But when you hear people talk about, you know, Bungie and how they're the creators of Halo, that team's gone. They do not deserve the reputation or the mantle as the creators of Halo when everyone who did make Halo is pretty much gone. So that's like, they are not the creators of Halo by name only, by association. It's like being friends with the president of the United States. Guys, I'm the president of the United States. No, you're not. You're just a friend with him. Like, you're the friend of the president of the United States. Guys, I run the country. No. You didn't have any influence at all on that. You're just a dude who's there. That's it. That's how it is with Bungie. You didn't make Halo. You have no right to claim you made Halo. You're just dudes and dudettes that happen to be in a building where it was maybe made. Let's jump into the video.
Bungie was once the most admired game studio in the world.
One of the most eagerly awaited video games finally goes on sale.
We got it.
Woo! Sniper!
This is worth it. Oh, baby. I saw that and I was like, hell yeah. I got it. I got this beautiful collector's. Oh yeah, I do have the helmet actually signed by Master Chief himself, by the way. I literally have it signed by Master Chief. Oh my God. Guys, I got you. Here's you want you can't see it, but I've got 2 months. Oh, okay. For the meme. Gotta turn it off. Guys, I got you. Here you go. I got you. 2 months. You want your 2 months free trial of Xbox Live? I've got you. Comment down below and I will give you the code for that's right. It's not even scratched. See? I still got it. You get your free Xbox Live for 2 months. I got you. Comment down below. Comment down below and get your free. Get it now.
But today, Bungie is unrecognizable.
Bungie is cooked. This is like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
They are struggling right now, looking like me trying to reach the top shelf in my pantry.
Basically, steals assets from a single...
By the way, let me know if the volume is too high. I think it might be a little too high, but let me know. I'm going to lower it a little bit.
Lone artist without permission.
220 roles are being eliminated from Bungie.
Marathon could be the death of Bungie.
The people who made the company legendary have quietly left, one after another, like pieces of a puzzle falling away. What pushed Bungie's developers out of the door? Where did these amazing people go? And how did the studio that created Halo end up releasing a game like Marathon, a game that looks to be dead on arrival? Well, it all starts with Alex Seropian, the founder of Bungie.
Chapter
Alex
1,
founded the company all the way back in 1991, long before Master Chief existed, long before Xbox was even an idea. He was just a college kid in a dorm room making a simple game called Gnop. What a beauty. And instead of just uploading it somewhere random, Alex did something wild. He self-published it under the name Bungie. Just him, a floppy disk, and a mailing list. That was it. Talk about having some indie roots. In this moment, Bungie was born. Not as a studio, but as a mindset to build stuff Alex was passionate about. Soon after he published his first game, he met another student, Jason Jones, the other co-founder of Bungie we know. Jason at the time was coding an ambitious multiplayer game called Minotaur, and together they created some great games, from Pathways into Darkness to Marathon. Alex and Jason shaped Bungie into a team that punched way above its weight. They were a small crew with big ambitions, and the company became known for games that felt different, that were special. Bungie wasn't printing.
Based on what I've heard and the vibe and everything that anyone talks about Bungie, this was like, these were gamers who were making games for gamers. Like that was the dream. They were making games for gamers. They had the passion and drive, and money wasn't really like the main selling point. They just wanted to make a good game.
Money yet. This wasn't the golden days of Bungie that we all know. And by the late 90s, they were running low on cash. Alex saw the writing on the wall. Bungie was going to survive. If Halo was going to be what it could be, he had to make a bold
God, I want to play some Halo
so
now.
He sold Bungie to Microsoft. That one decision saved the company and made Halo the crown jewel of the Xbox for 2 decades.
God!
But for Alex, that was the
I want to buy the OG Xbox, like the Halo Master Chief Edition. Like I do.
finish line. After Halo shipped, he quietly stepped away. And that's the thing people forget. Jason Jones didn't start Bungie. Alex Seropian did. And he didn't just build Bungie with Jason, he saved it. And when his work was done, he let go. Then there's Joseph Staten, a truly loved man in the Halo community and by me. Joseph gave Halo its soul. He crafted its iconic story. He wrote its dialogue and gave the universe this unique voice. But then out of nowhere, in 2013, he walked away from Bungie. And he wasn't the only one. Next came Marcus Leto. Joseph might have given Halo its story, but
I think some of these key people who had made such an impact in Halo leaving was signifying the downfall of Bungie a long time ago.
Marcus defined its look. He designed the architecture, the environments, and the most famously, Master Chief himself. Fans and industry peers have often called Marcus the father of Master Chief. Talk about some talent, having created one of the most iconic gaming characters of all time. But like Joseph, he left in 2012 and another domino fell for Bungie. And then the music stopped. Marty O'Donnell, the legendary composer behind Halo's unforgettable soundtracks, the man that gave us this.
When I have a kid, I'm putting them to bed with the soundtrack. That's how like iconic. My child will go to bed with this music going in the background.
Was fired. And the story gets worse. Jamie Geismer, who shaped Halo's core gameplay, the feel of its weapons, the enemies, the iconic level design, left in 2010. Mark Hoberman, the mind behind Halo's innovative multiplayer and UI, left in 2006.
Well, that explains a little bit about why PvP in Destiny is kind of ass.
Who had climbed from test manager all the way up to president of Bungie, left in 2016. What the hell was happening at Bungie? It's impossible to deny a pattern here. Bungie was losing its lifeblood, its core talent, piece by piece. And it kept going. Michael Salvatore, Marty's co-composer, who created those iconic Halo scores alongside him, he left in 2023.
Not only that, he made the Deep Stone Lullaby, which is, people were like, this is iconic, and they kicked him out the door. It is insane that Bungie fired some of these iconic talent. Like, I will never forgive Bungie for that. Like, literally his last tweet was "gone fishing" or something like that. He updated, like, I feel so bad. You spend years at this company supporting it, and they just give you the boot. Like, fuck you, Bungie.
Lorraine McLeese, the artist who designed the Halo logo itself, also left in 2023. Now, just one original member from the...
But I want people to realize that making music is not just something you just do to do. Like, it is a passion. It's a drive. It's art, but it's got emotion. You got care into it. You're crafting a story with the music. Like, talk to any artist. This is not just something you just do to do. Like, it is your passion, and you have to love what you do. And Salvatore loved it. You put that love into Halo. You put that love into earlier days of Destiny. And the fact that they just kicked someone who was so passionate about games and making music for games is just mind blowing to me. Now we got this garbage in Edge of Fate.
Old Bungie days remains. Jason Jones, Bungie's other co-founder. He's still there, just quietly working in the background. Everyone else.
I've heard apparently that he just kind of just chills. He doesn't really do anything. And people are also speculating he's gonna dip out whenever he gets his paycheck from Sony. That's a speculation, but he just kind of just chills there, does nothing. He really doesn't apparently do anything. He's just there for the paycheck.
The creative force behind Halo's groundbreaking success, what made Bungie, they're gone. This company, once known as the rebellious underdog of game development, has become a corporate giant. A behemoth that looks to have lost nearly all of its original visionaries. How did that happen? What caused Bungie's greatest minds to walk away? Well, to fully understand, we need to look beyond Halo and explore what came next. When Bungie released Halo Reach. Now, when Bungie released Halo Reach, they stepped into a new era. They were finally free from Microsoft. They were an independent studio once again. But that independence came with a price. Halo was beloved by the community, but its development was brutally demanding. Bungie, for all of its success, was no stranger to intense crunch. And years of overtime took...
They did that in Halo 2, which the story about Halo 2, if you've never watched like the breakdown, it is mind-blowing. That was in it. I think it feeds into the history of like even though most of the people that made Halo 2 are long gone, it's just kind of like the legacy kind of translate also into the current Bungie, that when their back is against the wall, they make some great stuff, which is crazy that they have to literally be on death's door or like on doom time for them to make some glorious treasure. But Halo 2, just the stuff I've heard, it was a nightmare. And yet it was just one of the best games I've ever played. I still think Halo 3 is better, but it's not a point.
A pretty serious toll on its developers. Marcus Leto put it this way: one of the reasons I left Bungie is that many of us have seen the bad side of extended crunch periods that would go on for months and months, and what kind of human toll that took. Even with the intense crunch periods, much of Bungie's core talent, the so-called dream team, was still intact. Fans still had huge expectations, and the studio itself was determined to deliver something groundbreaking, following their Halo swan song with Reach. And that game was Destiny. Yet freedom isn't always that freeing. With no more Microsoft backing, Bungie needed a new partner if they were going to fund this big project. So in 2010, they announced a massive 10-year exclusivity deal with Activision. This was going to be a decade-long deal built around a new franchise that Bungie hoped would rival the impact of Halo. Internally codenamed Tiger, this project was the beginning of Destiny.
Which is interesting because that's based off their engine. That's probably where the Tiger engine came from. That's interesting. It's also funny because they were going to make a 10-year like game, which technically they did, but I think Activision wanted to make like another Call of Duty. I think that's exactly what the intent was, is to just consistently crank out games like Call of Duty.
Destiny wasn't just another shooter. It was this ambitious MMO.
Which could explain why we didn't have random roll drops. It was just like, here you go, here's your preset. We're going to crank it out. New DLC, new maps, all that stuff. Like we would have gotten all the bells and whistles, but it would have been, it'd be Call of Duty. It's essentially what they wanted Destiny to become, was the Call of Duty every year is a new game.
Shooter hybrid thing. Imagine Halo meets World of Warcraft. At least that's how they described it back then. Expectations soared. Bungie COO Pete Parsons set the bar incredibly high, saying,
I bet he did.
We want people to put Destiny's universe on the same shelf as they put Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, or Star Wars.
I'm sorry. It is nowhere near that. It is ironic that guys, the best way to put ourselves on the same shelf as Star Wars is by making our game into Star Wars. Come Renegades.
Talk about ambitious. But when Destiny finally released, players immediately sensed something was off. Let's get one thing clear. Destiny's gameplay was genuinely great. Bungie's tight controls, that satisfying gunplay, and those addictive missions were all there. The stuff they were really...
I think people have a lot of nostalgia for Destiny 1, but they don't realize how bad launch was. Launch was just god awful. It was like you did the missions, it was all over the place, and then you were like, what's next? That was it. There was literally nothing else to do. You did everything, and then it was a hot mess. There was not, like, the only in-game activity was literally farming nightfalls for exotics and the Vol Glass. Now that was it. Like, Vol Glass, I think, actually just saved the launch. But people forget how bad Destiny 1 launch was. It wasn't until they start cranking out DLC. In my personal opinion, I don't think it was until King's Fall that the game actually stabilized and became a great game. I don't know. Maybe I'm glazing King's Fall or not King's Fall. The Taken King, that whole expansion. Maybe I'm glazing it too much. I don't know.
Good at it. But the story, it barely felt present at all. The writing fell flat. The voice acting felt disconnected, almost lifeless. Even with a heavyweight actor like Peter Dinklage voicing a main character.
Bro, Dingleberg, the Dinglebot was probably the most lamest. Like, I don't know if they just like went up to him like, hey, can you say these lines real quick? And he just like for the first time read them, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like someone who was reading a script for the first time with like no emotion. Like maybe that's what he was thinking the robot was supposed to be, is emotionless. But like I feel like he would have been a great ghost. But my God, it was bad.
It felt hollow. This wasn't the Bungie fans knew. Destiny lacked that emotional punch, that charm, that unmistakable storytelling magic.
You also want to know, but this is when Bungie decided that your characters wouldn't have voices. This is a trend that has also made people disconnect from the world of Destiny, is that you had Master Chief and Cortana in that relationship and that storyline. You don't get anything in Destiny like that. Like, no one gives a shit about your ghost. Not a single, like a real damn person cares about Ghost. No one does, because you're not actually connected to them. You're not actually conversing with them, having a conversation. Like Destiny Rising, I was shocked to see that the main character actually talks to people in the world, and it felt like you were actually part of the world instead of being this weird anti-social simulator where you're sitting in the corner and you're like, I'm awkward, I can't talk, and you're watching people stare. Like you're holding your gun in the hand while everyone's just having a conversation without you, like you're that one-wanted stepchild that no one wants to really address.
Why? Joseph Staten. Joseph was the narrative heart of Halo. So naturally, Bungie had him crafting Destiny's universe and story too. And after years of work, Staten finally showed senior leadership, including Jason Jones, a 2-hour supercut of Destiny's story. They hated it. Bungie's leadership felt it was too linear, too campy, too unlike the MMO vision Jason Jones had in mind. Some Bungie devs loved it, others disagreed strongly. But what mattered was Jason Jones' opinion, and he was not a fan. They scraped almost everything Staten created. Years of work from one of the most talented.
That's insane. The dude that literally made your game, that literally made the story of Halo, and you're like, nah. Also, isn't it funny? You heard it there. MMO, that they didn't like something that was based on an MMO. Isn't that crazy? How people like to call Destiny an MMO, though it really isn't, because even the leaders of Bungie did not like a story for Destiny 1 that was like an MMO.
Talented writers in the industry was gone in an instant. They kept basic world building, but the core plot, completely rewritten. One problem though, Destiny was releasing it in just a year. They didn't have the time to write something new, something good, something to actually really rival Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or any of those stories. That didn't stop them. So Jason Jones formed Iron Bar, a group of top leaders tasked with rapidly creating a new non-linear narrative. Characters were rearranged, major characters became minor, missions were cut or merged. One of Bungie's employees anonymously described the frantic rewrite as, the priority was, hey, we have a bunch of content that we've spent millions of dollars on. We need to cobble it together in a way that is not going to break continuity. And we've got to do it quick. Missions were...
And it did break continuity. That's what's funny.
Were repurposed in a matter of months, and one dev bluntly described it as literally like making a Franken story. This
That's
story
exactly
was
what happened.
No Star Wars. This was no Harry Potter. This was not Lord of the Rings. I can promise you. It was rushed. It was messy, and everyone knew it. Staten naturally was pissed. His team had been sidelined. The narrative was rewritten without the writers. The writing team Joe put together was ostracized. The story really was written without people that knew what they were doing. And side note, as a writer myself,
just to note that people are so upset for Destiny 2 leadership being ass. Bungie leadership has been ass since the beginning, since they left Microsoft. It's literally been ass since then.
This pisses me off. It's an example of non-creatives thinking they know better than the experts. So not surprisingly, Joseph Staten left Bungie. But Joseph Staten wasn't the only creative clashing with Bungie's management. Composer Marty O'Donnell had worked tirelessly with Michael Salvatore and even Beatles legend Paul McCartney on this special music suite for Destiny called Music of the Spheres. This epic composition was meant to debut with Destiny's trailer at E3 2013. But instead, at the last moment, Activision replaced the music of Paul McCartney and Marty O'Donnell with their own.
That's
Activision
insane.
somehow thought they knew music better than one of the Beatles and the composer of Halo. Marty saw this as a betrayal, obviously, an overreach by Activision, stating, "I think we have an agreement with the fans that when we show the fans something, we're showing them Bungie's work." So obviously he was angry enough and pissed enough to publicly tweet about it, stating, "To be clear, the official Destiny E3 game trailer was not made by Bungie. It was made by the company that brought you Call of Duty." This tweet had fewer than 20 likes, so nobody saw this, but it rattled Bungie's leadership. Marty was suddenly seen as a PR liability. And then the final straw, Marty tweeted again, "I'm saddened to say that Bungie's board of directors terminated me without cause on April 11th, 2014. A bitter lawsuit followed over unpaid wages and shares. Marty eventually won, but his time at Bungie was over. Staten and Marty.
Yeah, like it's very obvious that's when you knew that Bungie did not give a shit about the game. They didn't give a shit. Like Destiny 1, we have some fine thoughts, but people don't realize how bad aspects of Destiny were from the very beginning. They just don't realize it. And the real thing is they had Activision help pick up the slack. Like we think, Taken King was great. How many studios helped Bungie with that though? Like how many studios are picking up the slack of Bungie? And that's the thing. Like you can't say, "Oh, they did a great job," when it's multiple different, groups are helping salvage this.
Two creative giants were now gone. Yet Destiny, it continued. New iterations, expansions came, and Bungie tried to fix the damage they had created. But the cracks left by incredible talent leaving didn't heal. And internally, things just continued to snowball. They continued to deteriorate. Crunch wasn't new to Bungie. It was the reason Alex Seropian and Marcus Leto both left. But Destiny took crunch to a whole new level. Why? Because Destiny wasn't just a shooter. It was also an MMO. And you know what MMOs need? Constant updates. You have DLC.
Destiny is an MMO with Halloween Mass, trust.
You have seasonal events. You have expansions. Content had to keep flowing, no matter what. Activision, known for pushing studios to their limits, hovered over Bungie, demanding results, more content, tighter deadlines. The pressure was relentless.
Like Call of Duty
kept getting pushed back from 2013 to March of 2014, and finally releasing on September of 2014. And even after the launch, Bungie couldn't breathe. Crunch continued for the first two DLCs, and then into the expansions, which got smaller and smaller with every iteration. Take the Taken King, originally planned as a massive update, featuring an entirely new planet and an expansive area on Earth and tons of more content. But over time, that vision shrank drastically, ending up as just one new location, the Dreadnought. Still impressive, but far from the ambitious plans Bungie initially had. Why was this happening? The first problem was their technology. The game engine and tools Bungie built Destiny on were an
where have we heard that from?
Nightmare. One insider vividly described it this way. Let's say a designer wants to move a resource node 2 inches. They first have to load their map overnight, literally 8 hours to import. Then if that didn't fail, it would take another 20 minutes to open the map. After moving the node 2 inches, another 20-minute compile followed. All of that for a half-second change. Worse still, Bungie had a contract bonus from Activision tied to Destiny getting a 90% Metacritic score, which is hard as hell to get, I might add. And Destiny landed around 77%.
Yeah.
Missing that mark and costing Bungie millions. Around this time, Bungie CEO Harold Ryan quietly exited. Some were excited to see him leave, others were sad. Regardless of the feelings, the tension between Bungie and Activision only grew deeper. Then came the release of Forsaken expansion in 2018. Bungie thought it was their best.
People forget that that's when Pete took over. That's when things really went down the shitter.
Best work yet, but Activision disagreed. In an earnings call, Activision expressed dissatisfaction, promising investors a faster content model and more aggressive monetization. It wasn't clear exactly what that meant for Bungie, but it definitely wasn't good. And it probably didn't help that they had Bobby Beluga breathing down their neck. Things finally reached a breaking point. In 2019, Bungie announced something huge after 8 long, complicated years. They were splitting with Activision, and Bungie would keep the rights to Destiny. They were free. With that newfound freedom, Bungie secured a major $100 million investment from NetEase for a brand new IP. Bungie finally got this.
That is what people don't understand when we talk about Destiny Rising. That's the IP that NetEase was making. They were making Destiny Rising.
Breathing room and capital they needed to be there.
Bungie has no say on that.
Deep-rooted leadership problems still lingered. And not long after Bungie parted with Activision, Sony stepped in and bought Bungie for a whopping $3.7 billion. It seems odd to make that deal when all you've been dying for is freedom for almost 20 years. But Sony's deal came with a unique twist. Bungie would be an independent subsidiary and remain fully autonomous. They could self-publish, and crucially, there would be no console exclusivity. On paper, this was the perfect scenario. Sony's resources, no Activision oppressive oversight, no Bobby, but unfortunately, things weren't perfect. Over the next couple years, Bungie consistently missed financial targets. Destiny 2's expansions like Lightfall drastically underperformed, falling 45% short.
It's funny because we think about this, but when you realize Lightfall was the biggest selling, the most played expansion in Destiny history. All right, like we don't know. I say that, but I don't know how Forsaken was because we don't have those numbers. Since this was since that was all like BattleNet, and we don't have like numbers from BattleNet. It is crazy that Lightfall, when the New Age, was one of the most sold expansions, and it was 45% short projections. I think that the leaders of Bungie scammed Sony. I think Sony got scammed.
Of projections. So Bungie laid off 100 employees, around 8% of their studio. Then their final expansion, the Final Shape, performed even worse. So came even more cuts. CEO Pete Parsons announced, today, 220 of our roles will be eliminated, representing roughly 17% of our studio's workforce. In the same breath of making these layoffs, Parson also said, today our focus is on supporting our people. Those statements were hollow as hell to employees who were walking their livelihood out the door, especially considering Parsons had just spent $2.3 million on classic cars and even locked his Twitter account after announcing the layoffs.
Yeah, I wonder
Doesn't
why.
look good. And amid these layoffs, the remaining Bungie veterans finally left the company. Michael Salvatore, legendary co-composer of Halo soundtrack alongside Marty, was fired. Lorraine McLeese, the artist behind the iconic Halo logo, was also let go. Fans were obviously outraged. They were confused and saddened. How had Bungie, this iconic, incredible studio, fallen so far? What
Greed
was happening? Previously, fans blamed Activision, and before that, Microsoft, me included.
Yep.
I always blamed them for why and these downfalls and whatever's going on. But this time, the mess couldn't be pinned on Sony like
No,
it had
it
been in the
could.
past on Activision and Microsoft. This was Bungie's doing. They were independent.
Like, people don't realize that before Sony took over, they were working on Matter. They were working. In fact, Matter got canceled twice. Like, it canceled like 2019 or something, and then it got canceled in 2023. I did research. It was actually canceled twice. Then they had Gummy Bears, which is now just a PlayStation game that they've taken over from Bungie and with their own team now, not part of Bungie. The Project Payback, which apparently was just on the drawing board. They hadn't even started actual development on it. And then Marathon, right? They were cooking. They were cooking so many different projects that I don't know what they were thinking. Like, I don't know if they thought they were hot shit because of Lightfall, because they're like, we got this. We're hot stuff, or they thought that Daddy Sony was going to flip the bill for everything. I don't know what hardcore drugs the leadership was taking when they decided to do all these incubation projects. And they thought that, I guess they were really banking on that. They would have all these different games become like this massive company that they could just make bank off with all these games. I don't know. But it is proven that this is probably one of the biggest downfalls of Bungie, is spreading so far, and they've gotten nothing out of it.
Independently screwing themselves. Internally, Bungie's leaders had grossly overestimated their financial success when selling to Sony. And it explained why expansions like Lightfall fell so dramatically short of projections. But even worse, Bungie had secretly been developing two new IPs, Marathon and matter.
Oh,
Further
it's been
straining
more than that.
resources.
Gummy
Layoffs
bear-
weren't just reactive.
Gummy bears, and people thought that Destiny Rising was being made by them. It's not being made by. It was always made by NetEase. Bungie had no say in it. They gave the intellectual property like rights to NetEase. NetEase is the one totally in charge of Destiny Rising.
They were planned. Even if Destiny's final expansion had blockbuster success, those cuts were still coming. And it gets worse. If Bungie can't stabilize financially, Sony gets to step in and fully take over the studio. That's part of their contract. That independence, that freedom that they supposedly...
This is the thing that I'm talking about. There is a hope that if they do continue to do bad, that Sony can take over, and we might have a second chance to see what could happen to Destiny. And I've never hoped for a downfall of a company, but I'm just saying I would like Sony to take over. I don't think Bungie would die. I think the name would live on. I think they would clean house. They get rid of a bunch of the leadership, and I do think a lot of the talented devs would stay. Like they would keep them, and I do think that they would continue to pursue making Destiny, product. So people think that Bungie, closing down would be a bad thing. It's actually probably a good thing, and it would remove a lot of toxicity in that company already and a lot of the fluff that should not be there in the first place. But ultimately, Bungie itself would not shut down. The name would continue to live because even though they're not the creators of Halo anymore, people still attach that reputation to a company that doesn't deserve it. And most companies like Sony know this, and they will continue to use that as a benefit.
wanted for 2 decades, gone. If the studio does not reach certain financial goals, Sony can dissolve the split board and take full control. In hindsight, I think Sony drastically overpaid for Bungie. Sony bought Bungie for $3.7 billion. By comparison, Insomniac Games, a hugely successful studio, was purchased for $229 million. Why the discrepancy? Well, it happened during a frenzy of studio acquisitions. I mean, Microsoft was just buying everything at the time.
Yeah,
so
Sony
competition. Reacted by trying to get something. So they bought Bungie. But in another timeline, without Sony stepping in, I think Bungie might have gone under. The real problem wasn't...
They would have. We based on the financials that we learned, Bungie was actually knocking on bankruptcy. They almost dissolved. So if it was not for Sony, Destiny and everything might have ended.
Just bad financial forecasting or external pressure. It was deeper. Bungie has always made legendary games, often under awful conditions. Right? Relentless crunch, tight deadlines, and broken content pipelines.
It's funny because that last part is still true. Abusive leaders
had always struggled with scale. Jason Jones himself described Halo's development as buckets of blood. The initial scope of Halo 2 was massive, but had to be dramatically scaled back. That issue has never been fixed, and it drove away so many key developers in the early years, and then even in the later years. Even before Destiny, at its heart, Bungie was a studio that thrived creatively when it was small and rebellious, but it struggled as it scaled into a corporate giant. Leadership and talent clashed. Jason Jones wanted Destiny as a social MMO sandbox. Joseph Staten envisioned a cinematic, narrative-driven epic. Activision tossed aside Marty and Salvatore's painstaking crafted soundtrack. The executives never found compromise. They didn't listen to their talent, so the vision fragmented and the studio fractured. Bungie sacrificed creative vision for short-term gains, losing their cultural impact along the way. Players didn't care about Bungie.
I want you to realize that people were out cosplaying Master Chief. You had Bill Gates, Master Chief. There were so many aspects of Halo that are just iconic. That Halo itself, the original trilogy, impacted FPSs everywhere. Like Halo, literally, like sure, there were some grandfathers like Doom and Marathon, but the Halo changed first-person shooters for everywhere. Like the true grandfather is Halo. Not Call of Duty. Call of Duty jumped on the bandwagon after Halo. Like Bungie had set the tone for first-person shooters with Halo. Destiny has never, in any time of its existence, got relatively close to anything of that iconic level. Its influence is marginal. It has done nothing. In fact, its influence is actually the opposite. People use Destiny as a reason not to make games like Destiny. They've seen the failures of Destiny, and they're like, okay, we're not going to make a live service game like that. That is all. That's the legacy that Destiny has brought so far, is to discourage other peoples from making the exact same mistakes. There's a reason why we don't have true Destiny competition competitors. It's not because people can't do them or they can't do them right. It's because they have learned from the failures of Bungie, and it's just not worth attempting to do.
Because of their deals. And they cared about the creativity, the vision, the people behind the studio. Bungie forgot that. So the question now is, after all this fallout, where did Bungie's legendary team go? The original Bungie team didn't vanish. They scattered, taking their vision and talent with them. Alex Seropian, Bungie's original founder, went on to build multiple studios, including Wide Load Games, Industrial Toys, and now Look North World, where he's still currently CEO.
Nice.
He's still passionate and still innovating, and very much in the game industry. Marty O'Donnell, the composer behind Halo's music, founded Highwire Games, alongside Jamie Greisemer, the man who shaped Halo's groundbreaking gameplay. Marty serves as the studio's creative director, bringing that classic Bungie spirit to their projects. Max Hoberman, who originally shaped Halo's multiplayer experience, founded Certain Affinity in 2006. Nearly 20 years later, that studio has grown to over 200 developers, continuing to support massive franchises like Halo and Call of Duty. Joseph Staten, who gave Halo its narrative soul, now leads as creative director at Netflix Games. After his short stint at...
I would be very interested to see what games he makes, like what kind of games come from Netflix. I've not heard anything from Netflix, by the way, so I don't know.
He's now shaping new worlds and an entirely different landscape. Marcus Leto, the father of Master Chief, moved too, first founding V1 Interactive and now serving as a studio vice president at EA Battlefield, helping to shape the next era of AAA shooters.
Yeah, let's just hope the next Battlefield is good. There's hope.
Ryan, who served as Bungie's president during their turbulent Activision years, founded Probably Monsters, a unique game studio incubator, investing in new IPs and prioritizing healthy work cultures to avoid Bungie's pitfalls. Even Mike Zack, an art director who helped define Halo's visual identity, joined 343 Industries to keep shaping the Halo universe at Microsoft. All these Bungie...
We'll see if that works out, Cotton.
...veterans, and many more I didn't list, moved on. They have continued to make meaningful impacts elsewhere. The industry recognized their value, even if Bungie itself seemed to forget. And yet, one person remains notably at Bungie, Jason Jones.
Just one.
Other original founder. He's still quietly working behind the scenes, but his studio...
Nah, he's in the back with a Game Boy and a sandwich. Dude's just chilling. He's not even really doing anything. He's just there for the money.
The Bungie of today is unrecognizable compared to the legendary team he once helped build. And I wonder if he cares. This Bungie, the one that gave us Halo, that defined generations, that changed gaming forever, it's gone. The logo is the same, but the team behind it has fundamentally changed. And that brings us to now, Bungie's upcoming revival of Marathon, a groundbreaking series that defined the studio in its earliest days, long before Halo. Now Bungie is bringing it back. But this version isn't a continuation of the original story-driven experience.
It's a bastardization of it.
It's being rebooted as a multiplayer extraction shooter, leaning into current gaming trends rather than the single-player storytelling Bungie once mastered. Fans are skeptical, and for good reason. After Destiny's rocky path, the layoffs, the leadership struggles, and the creative disconnect, expectations for Marathon are pretty mixed at best, especially with a lot of the crazy stuff that's been going on lately.
Mixed at best. That's definitely putting it nicely.
The core issue that fractured Bungie for years remains: the conflict between creative vision and corporate vision. Without the original creative team, without Staten's storytelling, without Marty's iconic music or Marcus' visual design or Mac's multiplayer brilliance, there's genuine concern over whether Bungie can deliver something truly special again. Marathon isn't just Bungie's next game, it's a test. It's Bungie's chance to prove if they still have that original magic. But everything we've discussed, the departures, the struggles, the crunch, the layoffs, it makes it really hard to believe Marathon can truly recapture what made Bungie.
It's funny because the people who made the original Marathon probably aren't even at Marathon, at Bungie anymore. Which is why this Marathon doesn't feel like the old Marathon, because all the people that made that Marathon are gone.
Great. The studio we once knew, the one responsible for some of gaming's greatest moments, now seems more focused on surviving than innovating. And maybe that's the harsh reality of it all. The Bungie making Marathon today isn't the Bungie we fell in love with.
Nope.
That legendary team is gone,
making
their mark elsewhere. And because of that, it's hard to see Marathon being the return to form we've all been hoping for.
Or
Bungie,
Destiny.
One of my favorite developers, and probably one of your favorite developers, is gone. But remember, many of those talented people are still making games. We have even more great new indie studios rising to fill that gap of Bungie.
That's great,
support them. So many indies are making awesome stuff. I don't have the ability to show love to all the games and the studios that reach out to me, and there's a lot. I wish I could do better, but for this indie game highlight, here's a list of studios and games that have been released in the past year that are truly
I've heard all
awesome.
true.
Pick
Haven't
one.
heard much
Go
about anything
support
else.
the next Bungie. And as a developer myself, having just released my own game in early access, I know how hard it is to make games. And if you are at all interested in making a game yourself, you should check out Brilliant. They have been backing this channel for months, and with their support, we're giving half of what they pay us straight to the rising indie studios. Because Brilliant isn't just a sponsor. They genuinely care about learning. They don't just teach you what to know, they teach you how to think. For context, Brilliant is an interactive platform for anyone who wants to learn something new in STEM, whether it's game logic, algorithmic thinking, or just problem solving.
I'm gonna be so honest. I'm too stupid and too lazy to try to do
really good
coding.
job. So if you've dreamed of
Too
making
much.
a game or just want to level up your brain in a smart way, check out Brilliant.
My brain's not
Use
leveled
the link
up.
in the description to get started for
I got
free.
my
Thanks,
master's
everyone.
degree. I'm done
See ya.
leveling up my brain. I'm done leveling up my brain, man. Yeah, I mean it's a great video. I think it gave me a lot of information that I didn't know. I guess crazy that there's literally Jason Jones and Pete Parsons is the only real people from Halo. Like that, the whole team, everyone's pretty much gone. I think there maybe one more other dude that's back, but like the key people are gone. They're gone. They're gone, Jim. They're gone. The story of Bungie is an excellent microcosm how everything became shitified. Corporate suits and boardrooms started running industries instead of the nerds that had the real passion for the craft. You can still find that legendary music sphere suit by Marty Michael. It's on YouTube, and I definitely encourage everyone to go listen. It's quite magical. I need to go download that and see if I can actually how Bungie destroyed its reputation. Jeez, it's an hour long. Dude, I don't know if I like I don't want to react to an hour-long video. It's too much. Ask across about the loot. Palooza. Okay, we'll watch that. I may not react to it though. The link to the video will be down below. Let me know what you think. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Until next time,